It was supposed to be just another late-night shift. You know, just another quiet hallway in a giant building of glass and steel. But for one man, an ordinary night was about to completely shatter, revealing a connection he never ever could have imagined. A connection that was hidden in plain sight the entire time. This is the question that changes everything. Imagine a janitor standing in the massive corner office of a powerful billionaire CEO asking how a picture of his wife, a woman he buried 14 months ago, ended up on her bookshelf. Well, the answer? It's a story of sacrifice, of secrets, and a legacy that absolutely no one saw coming. Okay, so let's set the scene. Picture this. It's 11 p.m. in the executive wing of Sterling Industries. The whole building is hushed, you know, that kind of deep quiet that almost presses in on you. And this is where we meet our two main characters, whose worlds are, believe me, about to collide.
So on one side, you've got Marcus Rivera. He's a 35-year-old janitor, working the night shift for an extra $2 an hour, just trying to save up for his 6-year-old daughter Emma's surgery. And on the other side, Elena Sterling, the 34-year-old CEO, a woman whose face is plastered all over business magazines. I mean, these are two people living in the same building, but they might as well be in completely different universes.
So Marcus is in Elena's office. He's just dusting a bookshelf, and suddenly his heart just stops. He sees a silver picture frame, and in it is his wife, Sarah. She's laughing, wearing a yellow sundress on a beach. It's a picture he took. His breath just catches in his throat, the mop handle clatters to the floor, and when Elena Sterling asks him what's wrong, he can only get out that one impossible question.
Now, here's what's amazing. Elena doesn't dismiss him. She doesn't call security. Instead, she asks him to sit down, and she starts to tell him a story that begins 6 years earlier, long before she was a CEO, and long before Marcus was a widower.
See, at just 28, Elena was dying. She had leukemia, and her doctors told her she had less than a year. Despite all her family's money and resources, they couldn't find a compatible bone marrow donor. As she puts it, money can't just manufacture a stranger with matching cells. Her time was literally running out.
And then, like a miracle, a perfect match was found. It was a young woman who went through the entire grueling donation process. We're talking weeks of painful injections and a really difficult harvesting procedure. And when she was offered compensation, she refused. When they asked if she wanted to meet the person she was saving, she said no. She wanted to remain a complete stranger. Her only explanation was this, and it's just incredible. She said, seeing a 28-year-old woman get a second chance at life is enough. It wasn't about money for her or getting recognition. For this anonymous donor, the act itself was the only reward she needed.
And here it is. This is the connection. The anonymous donor was Sarah, Marcus's wife. A year after the whole procedure, she sent a letter through the registry to the stranger whose life she saved, and she included a family photo, the exact same one now sitting on Elena's shelf, but she never ever signed her name.
But just as Marcus is standing in that office, completely reeling from this revelation, he starts to realize something. There's another layer to this story, a secret that Sarah hadn't just kept from a stranger, but one she had kept from him, her own husband. He starts thinking back to that time. Yeah, Sarah had seemed quieter, more tired. He just figured it was exhaustion from all her volunteering, from raising their daughter. But now, looking back with this new piece of information, a much darker truth begins to take shape.
Marcus explains it to Elena. Sarah had been having symptoms for months. She'd actually had some preliminary tests done, and while the official results weren't back yet, she knew. She knew deep down something was seriously wrong with her own health.
And this just reveals her quiet determination, right? She hid her symptoms from Marcus and, crucially, from the donation registry. She was so afraid that if they knew, they would postpone or maybe even cancel her eligibility. So she went through every single injection, every appointment, knowing she was sick, just to make sure a stranger she would never meet got a chance to live. It was only after the donation was totally complete that she received her own final diagnosis, early-stage cancer.
And what's just tragic is that the physical toll of the donation actually accelerated her own illness. So when it came time to plan her treatment, Sarah did the math herself and insisted on a less aggressive, less costly plan. She slid a notepad across the kitchen table to Marcus and said their daughter, Emma, who needed her own surgery in the future, needed the money more.
So back in that office, you have two people from completely different worlds, a janitor and a CEO, and they're suddenly bound together by the love and the sacrifice of the exact same woman.
And that's when Marcus learns that Elena's connection to his family didn't just begin tonight. It started the moment she found out Sarah had passed away.
For 14 months, Elena had been quietly helping them. She made sure that janitor job posting got to Marcus. She anonymously paid their hospital bills, always making sure they were, quote, current through August. She did all of this from a distance, because how do you approach a grieving man and say, your wife saved my life, now let me save your family?
So their relationship starts to change. Marcus, who used to be a systems technician, spots a flaw in a multi-million-dollar company plan, saving Elena from a huge mistake. Elena starts visiting little Emma in the hospital, and the girl, sensing this familiar kindness, starts calling her Mom Elena, which just completely undoes the composed, powerful CEO.
But Marcus really struggles with accepting her help. It feels like charity. He tells her she deserves someone from her own world, not the man who cleans her building. And this is Elena's response. She reminds him that Sarah didn't check her tax returns before saving her life. She just showed up and gave what she had.
And this is where we see the full ripple effect. Sarah's single act of completely selfless kindness. It didn't end when her life did. No, it created a wave that would go on to reshape the lives of everyone she loved, and even the strangers she saved. Marcus finally lets go of his pride. Emma's surgery is a total success, and the three of them, a grieving husband, a grateful survivor, and a little girl who misses her mom, they begin to form this new kind of family. One built not on blood, but on the enduring power of a shared love.
And that legacy, it becomes something even bigger. They open the Sarah Rivera Foundation, funding the very same kind of bone marrow drives that saved Elena, covering medical costs for other families in crisis, and teaching kids what ordinary everyday kindness looks like.
When you think about it, Sarah never saw the ripple. She only saw the stone, and she chose to throw it anyway. Her kindness wasn't lost with her. It moved forward, finding its way into a silver frame, a night shift job posting, and a brand new family.
It really leaves you with one final thought. The most powerful legacies aren't always what we build or what we own. Sometimes it's just the evidence in the lives of other people that we showed up with an open heart, especially when it cost us something. So I guess the real question is, what ripples are you creating?